For more than a quarter century now, Pokemon has been, well, it's been more than just a game, hasn't it? It's been this constant, a quiet world that so many of us grew up inside of, and a world that somehow just doesn't seem to get old. So what is the secret to that? How has it stayed so deeply loved for so long? Let's try and understand the quiet genius behind it all. The whole Pokemon universe, it didn't start with some grand design or a big corporate plan. It started with something much smaller, a single personal memory. It's really the story of how one person's quiet childhood hobby grew into this shared world that feels like a second home for millions.
And this right here, this is the memory that started everything. The creator, Satoshi Tajiri, he wasn't setting out to build a global franchise. Not at all. He was just trying to get back a feeling, the feeling of exploring the woods and fields when he was a kid, looking for insects. And that one simple, almost forgotten act of discovery, well, that became the bedrock for everything that came after.
A childhood memory. Yeah, let's start right there, with that core idea. Because the first spark, the very first concept, it had nothing to do with epic battles or becoming some grand champion. It was about something much, much quieter. I mean, think about it. Before we ever heard "Gotta Catch 'em All," way before gym leaders and the Elite Four, the whole point, the main idea, was just sharing. The entire design was built around that little link cable for the Game Boy. The goal was just to connect two people, to let them trade the things they'd found. That's it. You see, Tajiri noticed that kids growing up in big cities, they were losing that connection to nature. So Pokemon became his way of kind of bottling that experience. The thrill of finding something new, the patience you need to search, the pure joy of discovering something rare. He wanted to pass that on to a new generation through a screen, a world without harm. And that really gentle origin, it leads to maybe one of the most important things about the Pokemon world. It was designed from the ground up to be a safe place, a welcoming place, free from the real harm you see in so many other games. And this is where you see a really subtle but pretty brilliant design choice. In the Pokemon world, you, the player, you're never actually in danger. You don't do the fighting. Your Pokemon do. You're their friend, their coach, their partner. And that simple little shift changes everything. It creates this feeling of care and teamwork, instead of just making you another fighter.
And that right there, that gets to the emotional heart of it all. It's a world built on this idea of adventure, but not conquest, of friendship, but not ownership. The focus is always on growing together, on partnership. And that creates this emotionally safe space that people feel good about coming back to again and again.
Just look at how they're shown here. These aren't just, monsters waiting in a dungeon for you to fight. They're part of a living, breathing ecosystem. They have their own habitats, they interact with each other. It's these little details that make the world feel so real. And it drives home that powerful idea of coexisting with nature, not just trying to conquer it. From Japan to the world. So, okay, we have this powerful idea. And this safe world, that's the soul of Pokemon, right? But how in the world did this very Japanese creation connect so deeply with people all over the planet? Well, the answer is in a really clever strategy. The key was something called globalization. It's pretty much what it sounds like, a mix of global and local. The idea is you don't just translate something, you adapt it, you change it so deeply that it actually feels like it was made right there, just for your own culture. And you can really see that strategy at work here. When they first went global, they poured a ton of effort into localization. They changed names, dialogue, even the jokes, all to make it feel natural and native. Then, later, once everyone already loved the brand, they could kind of pull back a bit and unify it, creating that single shared identity we know today. Okay, here's a perfect example. The original Japanese name is Fushigadane, which kind of means bizarre seed. It's poetic, it's clever. But Bulbasaur, well, that instantly tells an English speaker exactly what they're looking at, right? Part bulb, part dinosaur. And this kind of careful adaptation was absolutely crucial. It made the Pokemon feel like they were ours, not just something borrowed from another country, designed to be shared. But here's the thing, making the game feel local, that was only one piece of the puzzle. The team also put together one of the most brilliant marketing plans ever, all to build an entire world around the game. They used a strategy known as the media mix. And the whole goal here is to create a universe that you can step into from any direction. You don't just play the game, you watch the anime, you collect the trading cards. And every single piece makes the other pieces better, making the whole world feel so much bigger and more real. And then, in what was really a stroke of genius, they completely flipped the launch order when they brought it to the US. They aired the anime first. So what does that do? It means millions of kids fell in love with Ash and Pikachu before they ever even touched a game. So by the time the games actually came out, they weren't just buying a new toy. They were finally getting the keys to a world they were already a part of. The result of all this careful planning? A franchise with revenues over 4.6 trillion yen. But honestly, a number like that, it doesn't really tell the story, does it? What it really represents is millions of games sold, sure, but also billions of cards traded between friends and just countless hours spent together in this shared world. It's proof of just how deeply this universe really connected with us. A place to return. Which brings us to the last and maybe the most important reason for why Pokémon has lasted. It's not just about getting you into the world. It's about making you feel like you can always come back. I mean, just stop and think about this for a second. Can you name any other game that lets you bring your original partners, your original friends, with you on a journey that can last for decades? A Pokémon you caught as a kid, way back in, say, 2004, can literally be right there by your side in a brand new game today. That creates this incredible, continuous bond that you just don't find anywhere else. And that, right there, that's the quiet magic of its design. It's always open. You never need to know the whole long history to start your own adventure. Every new generation of kids gets their own front door to this world. It's a place that grows up with you, but it never ever asks you to grow out of it. So maybe that's the ultimate secret. Pokémon doesn't demand our attention. It's not some trend that's here today and gone tomorrow. It's a place, a familiar world filled with familiar friends that's just always there, patiently waiting for us for whenever we decide it's time to come home.